So, before we start anything, just want to say something is different about this session. So normally I only run this on class scope because this is meant for the class only because anyone else will not even know what the hell this is. But today I do something new. I make this a live stream. You can actually check for this on YouTube right now. It's just a bunch of my friend in college. They want to learn a bit more about Node, and this is the reason why I started to make it a public thing. So for anyone who's watching this on YouTube, sometime there will be a question that you have no idea where it's coming from. It might come from one of my student, and otherwise, if anyone who's watching this in my student, you guys have a different way to see it because I set up that way. If there's a question that you have no idea where it is in chat, it's from a student, vice versa. Right. So what are we doing today? So this is the homework for this week, and we're gonna build a Node Express handlebar. Basically, this is the whole app, and I'm gonna show you the end result. The end result is gonna look something like this. This is provided first by the school, but this basically running Express. You're gonna build a UI similar to this. There is a box to type. You click on submit and it basically save it on here. We have to use a real database to save this, and then you can add multiple things and you can hit devour and basically it jump over to the other side, right? So this is what we will end up having, but believe me, I'm gonna do a so much better UI than this looks so ugly. All right, so let's look up what they require us to do. So you have the user input the names of the burgers. uh, the app will display on the left side, and each burger will have a devourer. And if the user click, it's moved to the right side. The database need to save every single burger. Cool, that's it. We have to use Express. We have to use Handlebar. We have to use MySQL. And because we learned about SQLize, so I'm gonna use SQLize in this one too. And I think they're asking us to use SQLize. Actually, they don't. But given that we already learned about SQLize, why not using it? So I'm gonna use SQLize in this one. I know, but they don't tell us to not using it. They use MySQL. SQLize is MySQL. So I'm gonna go with SQLize. And if you guys haven't used SQLize when you guys submit your homework, that's fine. I'm still okay with that. Uh, okay, so what do we have here? Okay, so config setup. So you need a config file, connection.js, ORM file. This is nowhere close to ORM. Okay, you need a model, a burger. You need a controller that will um, basically control the routes, as far as believe this is how it works. You have a view, and in the view you have a handlebar files to contain your layout. Right, and this is the end result. It looks something similar to this. Okay, alright. So let's start. So I'm gonna make a repo and I'm gonna commit this onto repo. And by the end of the class, this session, you guys should have the code ready. Alright, so this is week 13. Alright, have a read me. And we're gonna clone this. Just out of curiosity, permission denied. I might have added the different URL. Alright, different way to use this. I will clone this in silence because I cannot show you guys my password. Okay, so now I got that thing. Where's my quick 13? Oh, we can rename them later. Alright, so let's start with installing. So they want us to use Express. Oh, well, we need to init on the npm. So we're gonna use npm in the terminal. So npm init. I'm gonna set everything as normal. But so just realized I need to update my password. Alright, so we need to install Express, right? That's the first thing that we need. In addition to that, we need handlebar, and I think another one that we need is the, where is that? Express handlebar. Handlebar and express handlebar. Alright, we need both of them. Alright, just quickly I will update my password because it's been leaked already. I need to find a better way to do this. Alright, excuse me for 2 minutes, guys. Oh, security. Password. To fill in that. Password update now. Alright, cool, done. Alright, let's head back. Alright, so beside handlebar and express handlebar, because we're gonna use MySQL, so let's see what SQLize. Let's see what SQLize actually does require. So this is the SQLize API, and if you go to their branch, they have a getting started. So this is what they want us to do: SQLize. And I want to also install the MySQL too. I know that in class we use MySQL, but I guess that MySQL 2 is the improved version of it. Alright, so we're done. In addition to this, I'm going to install something that we call SQLize COI. So SQLize COI is something that we ask you to install globally, but personally, I don't think this is something to be installed globally, so I'm just going to make this locally and install this for the project. Right, so install that would be something like this. And see how you save that, because you only need this on development. You don't use this when you deploy. Alright, so SQLize COI gonna allow us to do this API. Oh, sorry, commands. Right, so we're gonna use this command. And let's start. So first thing first, let's do a symbol server. So I'm going to create a file called index. Yes, no node module, thank you. But as usual, just make sure that you guys have this. Ignore the node module. Alright, so to start the index, again, this is the code that you don't really need to remember. Let's go and look for Express starter code. Right, again, this is something that not to be remembered at all. Just copy it somewhere else. That is the one. Cool. Right, so we're gonna do in app port and that. And before I forget, we also need to handle the JSON middleware, the body parser. I forget where I found that. Example map migration. That. Okay, I'm just gonna open my previous file. So this is what I'm talking about. Again, I don't remember this because it doesn't need to be remembered. Just gonna get and use it. Alright. Anything that I need to worry about? Nope. Okay, express, that's good. Body parser, we need to require the body parser. I might need to install it. Nope. Okay. So if I run this and I go to um, localhost on port 3000, I should see this. Right, and before we forget, I'm just gonna install the Doraemon, and luckily I have got it to be running. Took me like 2 hours to actually got it running. Right, for anyone who doesn't know, Doraemon is basically similar to Node, but it's monitor your um, directory. So if anything change, um, it's gonna. What the hell is this? No idea. I believe this is not a bad thing. Yes, okay. So Nodemon is basically similar to Node, but it is, again, it's monitor your directory. So if anything changed, your server basically got rerunning. So you don't have to queue it and then turn it on again. It's quite useful. Right, so to set this, we're gonna have a watch, and I'm gonna run Nodemon on index. Just reindent those files. Alright, so let's start. npm run watch. There you go. Alright, so let's open on 3000. Hello world. Cool. Alright, so we got the Express up and running. So that's the first thing. Next thing, we should start handling the database. Right, so this is something that I built earlier, so I'm just gonna drop that. And actually, this is the whole database. So I'm just gonna drop the whole database. We don't need that. So I'm gonna create a new database called burgers because we are dealing with burgers. Right. Cool. Now we got the burger. So we now need to connect, and we need the config file. SQLite allows us to use config file and models, right? And if you install SQLite COI locally and not globally, so if you use globally, you can use this directly. But if you install locally like myself, only install it in here. So it's only the project. You need to use an npx. So basically this is npm but executed. So it's similar to how you use SQLite, but if you do locally, if you install locally, the package locally, you need to use npx. You need to add npx before your command. So the command to install initialize the project is just SQLite init, right? So we're gonna run that. And it creates first the config file, the model file, migration file, and seed the file. Right? So I'm going to talk about migration later. I think this is something that you want to know. But for now, let's go with config and models. Right? So config files. we only do with development. So let's use this one first. So my password is 13456 for localhost. My database is burgers db. That's the host, that's the local host, that's dialect. This is not usable, and with that. Alright, this is JSON, so no trailing comma. Okay, so that's the config file. This is the model file. This is generated for us, and we're gonna have a look at this later. So the config file, now we need to make sure that we connect, right? And in SQLize, if you go to get started, this is how they connect your database. And we do it in here. This is where we do it. So they already done this for us. So we don't need to change anything. Then what we need to do, what we can do is we can run the authenticate so that we know that the connection can run it correctly. So let's do that. So in index, what I'm going to do is I'm going to require the connection. Actually, I'm going to call it DB. And it's going to be inside model because our database, our connection is inside here. This is our connection. So the connection is right here and it's assigned to the DB right here. Right. So that's the DB. Okay. So what we want to do now is that we want to test the function is authenticate, right? So we want to see whether our connection is correct. So SQLize authenticate. Again, SQLize is the connection, the SQLize connection. Authenticate is the function of SQLize. It's gonna show you what it's actually doing later on, but this is a function to make sure that the connection is good. And because this is a promise, so we can do a then, and then we can start listening. Right? We only need to do this once. Like later on, if we know that the connection is good, we can skip it and just go app listen. Right? Let's see our thing. There you go. So again, see how it just shut down itself and restarting and starting again. So that's because of Northern actually doing that. And this is the last one. So executing default, select 1 plus 1 as result. So that is the function of authenticate. So this is why it's running. And make sure that it's actually running correctly. Cool. So I'm gonna do the simple way that we have shown you in class so that it match with whatever we have taught you, and then I'm gonna show you what you should really doing in the industry. So the first thing is we're gonna create a model, right? And remember the SQLize COI, it allow you to, where does it allow you to, yeah, SQLize moderate, generate, or create. So we're gonna use this, and you're gonna see it's create the file similar to what we have. So nothing actually changed. So you don't need to like say what's different, right? So let's try doing that. So nbx again, SQLize model, create, and we're gonna, it will ask for a name. If you don't know what is required, you can do a help here, and it's gonna have a bunch of things right here, but it's gonna have a name which is required and an attribute which is required, right? So actually before we start, let's think about what is in it. So we know that this is a restaurant, right? This is an app to allow you to eat a burger. Eat the burger, right? And the data, the table that we're creating is the burger table. And in the burger table, for now, it's only have the name, right? And we need a way to save that they are devoured or not. So we have two columns, name and devour. And that's what we're gonna do. So Just gonna enlarge this a bit because I feel that it's a bit small. Alright, so nbx, I need to clear this. nbx sequelize model create. The name is burger, right? Burger. And the attribute is, so first of all we have name, right? Which is string. And we have is devour, which is boolean. And see how it creates us a new model. We're gonna talk about migration later. I'm gonna explain to you what that is, but for now, just pay attention to the model. But something went wrong. Okay. So this is the model, and do that. So the model is the name and the devour, right? And we have the associate function, right? And but now we have nothing in it, so we can leave it there or we can remove it. It doesn't really matter. So we have this, and we have the index file, which is familiar with you guys about how it works. If anyone wants to know about this, I'm going to explain later on, but this is the file that we generated for us through SQLite CLI, and this is also through SQLite CLI, so they will be compatible. And this will be, and what we learned before is we're going to use a function called sync to, so db is our connection, db.sqlite is our connection, and through this file is read all the models that we have, and then we're gonna call sync, which is basically connect, like saying whatever we have in the local, and then enforce the changes on the database. And because our database right now doesn't have anything, so nothing is in the table right now. Sorry, because I have this running. So when I save it's actually running this. But see, this is the command that is actually running when you do sync. So sync is basically see what table that we're having, run a MySQL command to create it on the server if not exists, on the database if not exists. So because of this sync command and because we have this model, it run the command create table. Cool. Right. So that's what we need. So we need sync, then we need the listen. Alright, so next thing is we need to set up handlebar. And how to set up handlebar. Remember that we don't actually use, we use handlebar, we don't use it directly, we use it through an express handlebar, which is a connection between express and handlebar. So that is the reason why we need to install this express handlebar thing. So let's start doing it. So this is how they want to set up their view. Inside the burger, create core views. You need an index.handlebar. You need the layout and stuff like this. This is because express handlebar expect this kind of directory. And let me quickly show you that. So I'm good with this. Express handlebar. And if you have time, read through this uses. So this is how it is built outside of the box. So outside of the box, it's gonna go view, home handlebar, and then the layout. So from their definition, the layout is basically a layout. It's not the content of the page. It's how the page look in general. And anything else in view will be an additional to build on top of the layout. I'm gonna show you later on how that works. But we're gonna create a view folder, and in the view folder there's a home.handlebar, and inside this we have a folder called layout with an S, I believe. Yes. And then we have a main.handlebar. Right. So this home.handlebar, sorry, main.handlebar, this doesn't really have anything special. Main page. But a handlebar thing in here called body. So this is how they set it up. And you can have a look for that right here. So by default, it's using this as a placeholder for where the main content should be rendered. Right? And we're gonna quickly run through the home. And this is main page, home page. Right, so this is set up for the layout. We're gonna update this later on, but for now, this is it. Then what do we have? We have, this is how we set it up, right? So we need to require express, we need to require express handlebar, create express, blah blah blah, basically copy all of this. Again, this is something that you don't really need to remember, just use the code that provided, the starter code. If you need to modify it, then you will look into what the hell that means. Alright, so we already require express, so we don't need that. We will need this. Okay. And then this is a cons. I need nothing changed in here. Alright. So now what it should do is, I need to change this into, because we now use handlebar, we can use render now. Alright, so now what we should see is, ta-da! So this is express, right? So express look for home. Actually, let's open the source code. It's easier to see. Right, so all of the outside coming from the layout, the main. So everything outside of the body is coming from this. Then you have this block, which coming from that. So that's how express works. So again, when I say render home, there's an option to choose which layout you want to render it to, but because I didn't choose anything, by default it choose the main. Again, all of this is set up outside of the box, and if we need to modify anything, there's option everywhere here to do that. But for now, because we don't really need to change anything, I'm just gonna keep it this way. So body right here. So after that, in the index, we just render home, and render home meaning this file. And because we didn't specify any layout, just choose the main layout, which is here, and render here. Cool. So we got SQLize up and running, we got Express up and running, we have the connection up and running. Basically everything is done. Handlebar is also done, right? So now let's start doing the real job. So before we do anything, we need something in the burger, the burger table, so that we have stuff to show and to update and delete or something, right? So like when you see in the burgers table, we have only name and devour, but in here there's 3 extra columns. This is the old code. This is the new one. You will see that there's 3 extra columns being created, and this is from SQLite themselves. So the created ad and the update ad and the ID, all of them are from SQLite. If you don't want to have them, you have the option to delete them. But because deleting them is not really something that I'm worrying right now, I'm just gonna leave it there. So I'm so bad at naming things, I'm just gonna go with burger. And bum 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 bum. haven't used the. I'm wondering how does the boolean got translate into this? Huh. Okay. So boolean SQLize understand boolean as tiny int. So they translate it into tiny int, which is basically 1 and 0. So 0 mean no, so I'm gonna put all of them as 0. Now should be good. Alright, so it require me to actually give it a timestamp. Bum, 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 bum. What is save this? Can I save that? Okay. Select current timestamp. There you go. Are you good? Nope. Alright. I guess that because SQLize does this for us, they don't actually have any default. Alright, so now we have 3 of them up and running. Now display them. Wait, so first of all, we need to view the page first, right? We need an image and everything. So home. I'm not gonna go with any bootstrap because this is way easy to actually doing bootstrap. So this is my container. I need to have a image up top. So image container, and I put an image here, whatever that image is. Let's see the video again. So we need that. We need to eat the burger. We have one thing on the left, one thing on the right, some text box on the bottom. So we need to update that. Alright. So to list on the left and the right, for now we're just gonna do a symbol top and bottom. Later we're gonna change it. So we're gonna have a list, something here. We're just gonna call this. We're not gonna call this anything. We just need to know that this is undevour. Is undevour correct? In devour, not devour. And this is devour. Alright. So we're gonna work with the styling a bit later on. But for now, this is what we have. And if I refresh the page, I should have it the burger, a photo, an image, and stuff like this. So let's look for burger. Not map. Do I have anything that with transparent background? Transparent? Of course there is. Alright. Copy link. Alright. Okay, so we have this. Now it's about displaying all the lists of devour on the left hand side, right? So first of all, before we can do that, we need to actually get the data, right? And we're gonna do that through an API because that's how it's work. I mean, API would be easier. So I'm gonna have a route here, and this one we're gonna have API routes.js. I'm not even changing anything. Wow. Alright, so in this one, we're gonna use a router. So I need to require express, and I'm gonna create a router. And I'm gonna export this router out. So this router gonna handle every single API request. An API request meaning anything that start with API. So API.use, app.use. Use basically mean any single method, right? So not gets, not post, not only get and not only post, basically everything. And my cache is mailing for some reason. Alright, so slash API, and we're gonna use the API router. We haven't required, so that's why it doesn't show up. Rouse API rouse. Alright. So now let's do something simple. Let's test whether this is working, okay? So we're gonna have a router of get burger, and we're gonna send this is better. And because I don't need this request, I'm just gonna replace it with underscore. Again, underscore is intervention of a variable that you don't actually use. Right. So now if I go to with this setup, if I go to slash API, it will redirect me to API router. And then if I go to slash burger using get, now I use get, not use anymore, I use get slash burgers, it's gonna send me a return of this is burgers. So let's try that. So I have localhost slash API slash burgers. It did burger. Cool. So it's sending me back data. Alright. So then now what? Now we already have the API up and running. Now we need to start sending real data, right? And what does real data mean? Real data means retrieving the burgers from here, from the database, and then display it. So first thing first, we need to require our database from models. This should be enough. If you don't declare anything and this is the folder, it's gonna look into model.index. Let you see right here. Right, so it will try to read your index file. Alright, so db.burger, right, so burger dot, because we want to find everything, so it's gonna be find all. I'm gonna make this function await, so I want to use await async more than just actually I used the wrong word. This should be async. Right, so I want to use await async to make it work. And right now we're just gonna send the whole data. Right, so this should go into database, get in the burger table, and run the function find all, which is get everything in it. And we're gonna wait for that to complete and then assign that to data, and then we're gonna send the whole JSON back. Alright, so if we refresh this should work as a JSON. Cool, got it. So now we have it up and running. What we need to do is we need to build the server, the API to work the same way. Build the handlebar to load the API and everything. And alright. So there are two ways to do this. You can do this in the file, which will be simpler, and I'm gonna try it first. I have some other plan to do later on, but for now, it's just gonna do that. So we're gonna do the inline JavaScript for now. Alright, so just make sure that this works. And if I go back to here, yay, that's a burger. And that's the console log. Perfect. Now what we need to do is when the page start, we need to run the request to get the burgers, right? So in order to do that, I'm gonna use jQuery in this. So just quickly, I'm gonna grab jQuery, download, compress production. No, I don't need that. It's an npm. That's supposed to be an npm, not the npm. I mean cdn. There's so many short words. Minify. I'm gonna use this. Right. So we're gonna use the jQuery to make it work. So we're gonna run a request. No autocomplete. Nope. Alright. So URL would be our API. So we run to /API/burgers. There's no data because we didn't send anything. And then we're gonna do a then. And this is where our data coming back. And we're gonna console log the data out. Alright. Run this. And that's our data. And if we look into network, it's sending an API. And this is what the API returned just now, right? So now we got all our burgers. Now it's time to set it up. I don't need that. Alright. Actually, if we do this, then we cannot showcase how to use handlebar. So we need to use handlebar. Okay. New plan. We're not gonna use this way. Alright. Because we have to use handlebar to handle the rendering of the burgers, so we're gonna use handlebar. Okay, ignore what I just said. We're not gonna do it this way. We have to use handlebar thing. Alright, so I'm gonna keep the API there just in case we need it in the future. Alright, so handlebar. What we need to do in this one is before we do this, we need to get all the burgers, right? So const burger, and again, same way. So await db.burger dot find all, and just quickly where this burger coming from. So this burger coming from this. And why does it do db.burger? It's because in the index on this very specific line, we use the model.name to be the key for the model. Right, so the model.name in this case is burger with a capital B. So we're gonna have db.model db.burger right here. And the file is a SQLized function to get everything. Can I show that? Actually, there is a model basic. Sorry, model query basic. And that's not the one. And this is a symbol select, right? So find all. That's how it works. Alright. So in render, in addition to the view, what you can do is you can pass in an object, and we will use it to pass in burgers, right? And this burger, remember for me that this burger is actually an array, right? So with that, we need to loop through that array and display it, not in here. We need to display it in this one, right? So for now, we just ignore about whether it's devour or not devour. We just want to display it all. Right, so handlebar. And where do you find it? So handlebar. So this is their website, and this is their doc. And you can find a bunch of things right here, but there's a bunch of built-in helper. So there's an each, and we're gonna use this to loop through the to loop through the array. So remember that when I showcased you before, and there was a question of how do you loop through an array if this is an array, right? So because when you pass in the burger here is an array, and the way sequelize work, sorry, the way handlebar work is, for example, just like this, right? So the way handlebar work is if you say something, if you use a double curly code and you put something, this will refer as a key, and then the result will end up with a name. So that's how it works. If you put in a key, it will come out with a name. If you put in a key, it come out with a name. This is also a key from this one. So if you do false, it will gone. Right. So this is how handlebar work. So now because we use an array, remember that when we pass in data, we pass in as an array. Burger is an array. So there's two ways to get through this. So either we make this an object. So this is a valid thing because this is equal to this. They're the same, and because they are the same word, you can shortlist it, shorthand it by this. So this is one way. So make it an object so you can look through it. So it's similar to. Do I have an if each? Yes. So similar to how you do this, right? So it's loop through this. So that's the first way. The second way is if you want this array, what you can do is instead of giving a key, you're using the keyword this. And this referring to this object, right? The object right here, the data right here. And to be easily understand, just imagine that whenever you deal with handlebar, you have the data object, right? So whenever I do a render here, and in this home or in this one, I have a data object, a global data object staying right here. It can be an object, it can be an array, whatsoever, right? But that is the object that you're referring to when you put in a key or the word this, right? That is what you're referring to. And in this case, because it's an array, if you put in any key, it would not work. So we have to use the word this. And inside of each of all the block, like this is one block, inside of this, sorry, this is the block. Inside of this, it generates a new data object. And this data object is whatever this block is about, right? So this block is looping through this array. So the data object in this one is only a string. So if you do something like, does this work? Yeah, okay, because a string is an array of characters, so that works. So if you do anything like name, it will not work because this is an array. This is a string, right? And there's no key of name, so it will not work. So you have to use the word this. Alright, so let's continue. So with that in mind, we can use each this. Just quickly, I will keep this as an array. And we're just gonna easily rendering using name. Do we ever have name? Can I just console log and see what's in here? Refresh that. Alright, so this is our burger. And the reason why it's doing this is because this is a sequelized burger. So sequelized burger object. So in order to actually get the name, I believe you have to do this dot get name. This is the function provided for us through SQLize. So if you have a keyword, you can do a get, and it will generate a keyword with get the variable name. So if I refresh this, nothing happened. Interesting. So this cannot be with name. I don't think that's how it works. Yes. See, so name is just name. Can I do a li here quickly and see what happened? Alright. So there are 6 of them. And why are there 6 of them? So 1 burger, 2 burger, 3 burger. So I select that. So that's look correct. Now, how can we get the data out? Can I do something silly as this? It does work. Where does this coming from? But it does work, but it's not what we're aiming for. So now let's quickly look at how handlebar handle the SQLize object. Honestly, I don't know this. It hasn't been my point to try to do. So handlebar display SQLize object. Alright, display SQLize using handlebar. Cool. Huh, interesting. So you need to use a function. Oh, because you cannot call a function. So you can use that. Alright, we're gonna explore how to do that later. It's actually a cool thing to do. But for now, we're gonna go with data values name, and that coming from data values.name. Still don't know where the other one's coming from. So that will give us 6. Hey, yeah. Alright. I mean, I'm thinking about why does that give us 6. Alright, for anyone who doesn't know how my tutorial work, I don't do this beforehand, okay? I don't actually have a script or anything. It's just run through it with myself. So there will be problem that I have no idea how to fix too. Alright, so let's think about how to fix that. So while I'm thinking about it, what I will want to do is I'm gonna
Three.
yes.
What I did is I changed it to array to an object.
Oh, that's the only thing.
Yes.
Huh. Interesting. So you mean this would be burgers and burgers. So that work? Okay. So this is easier. For some reason the array doesn't work accordingly. I wonder why, but we can think about that later. Alright, so right now this is everything. But what we want to do is this is when the burger is not devoured, and this is when it's devoured. So we need to have another one right here. There's another block called if, and remember that because this is the key that we use, the word that we use here will be the key of the object. So we're gonna need to use data values that is devour, and we're gonna have an if here. So if not devour, then here, and we have another one that if devour, then down here. Ever refresh this? Did I close it wrongly? Where is my handlebar? If it correct. Or do I have to do that? Or can I not use this? Yes, I cannot use that. Can I do that? No, I cannot do that. Hmm.
Is unless.
Yes, unless. Yes. Oh, a different way of. Alright, so unless is wait. Unless mean if not?
Yes.
That's not how it works. Man, no, unless doesn't mean that. No, what the hell?
Because of if. So it's.
Yes, I know, but that's not how the word means. Unless doesn't mean inverse of if. Alright, but anyway, cool. Thanks for that. So now, if I refresh this, I should have this tray. I'm gonna put a name up here so that we know which one is which. So this is not devour, and this down here is devour. So everything here would be not devour. And we're gonna cheat a bit and we're gonna change the devour in here, the burger 2 to 1 so that we can test our template. And if I refresh this, burger 2 should jump down to devour. There you go. Alright, so our template is correct. Now, the next thing that we need to do is that we need uh, a button to allow us to devour a burger, right? So we need a button, and we have a class of um, devour, and I'm gonna put a data ID in here, and we're gonna use the data from ID. You know what? What I can do is I believe I can do something like this. I believe if I use data values here, so I use another scope to limit what we using. So because I get the keyword data value here, so now everything we have would be inside a scope. So this should work because this is data values dot is devour. Yes, it worked. Yay. Alright. If you guys hear me saying yay, it's actually the real yay. I'm not even faking it. I have no idea whether anything that I write is working. Alright, so data ID here. Good, data ID here. Alright, so we can use this as our key to understand which one we deleting. Sorry, devouring, not deleting. Alright, this is so long. I need to remove this console log. Alright, cool. So now we will write some CSS. So what we want to do is we want to target all the class or the devour button, and we say on click, and it should send an API to our server and say, hey, I have devoured this. And then after it sends an API and it receives something, it receives a confirmation, it's gonna reload the page to show to load every single data up and running again. So in order to do this, we need to have an E, which is an event, and we're gonna get this data ID out of it, right? So the way you did it is get the current target, which is the button right now. And again, anything that I prefix with the dollar sign is basically a jQuery element. And I'm gonna get the ID and because I use the data dash thing, I can get the ID by using data function. Right, so that's how it works. Then I will need to send an API to the backend to showcase that it is to run the query on the backend to update. So I'm just gonna leave it here because we don't know what that yet. So let's go back to build API. Yay. Okay, so this is required. This is required. Cool. Alright. So what API do we want to run? We want to run I'm gonna do a put API because we're actually devouring it and it's actually changed in database. So I'm gonna use a put and we're gonna send to burger and we're gonna send through URL. Uh, burger slash devour. Alright, I'm gonna go with this. And for sure I'm gonna read the request, so I'm gonna leave it there. Alright, so in order to get the ID from here, because it's in the parameter, I can do and because the ID here and the ID here are the same, I'm just gonna do the object deconstructing. Alright. Um okay, what do I need to do? Then I need to update the burger with the same ID, right? So await bb.burger.update. So the update requires two object, right? The first object is what do you want to update, and this one I want to update is devour to true, and the second one is what do you want to update. So I want to update anything with an ID equal to an ID, and again because this is an object and the key and the value are the same name, you can remove that, right? And after they are finished with that, I'm gonna spawn dot status 200 and so this is basically telling them that hey, this is good and the connection. But before I do that, I'm just gonna make sure that I got the ID correctly. So I am going to send the ID back. Right, before I do that. Right. So now my URL will be slash API slash burger slash the ID, right, and devour. And I'm just gonna make this a string interpolation, and in here I put my ID. And I can make this a string function. The cool thing about you write everything in JavaScript is that you can use the same syntax everywhere. Alright, so you wait for that, and for now we don't do anything. The future one would be to reload the page, but for now we don't do anything yet. We just want to see the result. So let's let's refresh this. Okay, there's an error. Did I remove? Yes, I removed my jQuery. Yay me! Alright, nope, 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 what? Alright, minify, I need that. Okay, let's refresh that. Alright, now it should be good and running. So now, when I click this, it should send an API through our server, and then our server should send a request, sorry, an API back, sorry, the ID back to us. So that's how it should work. So if I hit devour, it's sending, but then it get error because we didn't allow the get request. So if you hit header here, the request is get, but we said that we only allow put. So I need to change the method to put. Alright, let's try again. So hit devour, and it's up running. So put 200, and it's sending us back that. Alright, so we got that. So the next step is to reload the page, and the reload the page basically location.reload. Alright, so we got this. Then in our API, now that we know that we got the correct ID, we can remove this and go with this. Cool. Now if I refresh this is our latest one, and then if I hit devour, and there's an error. Alright, unhandled promises, where attribute is in the option parameter. I might need to see how SQLite does update again. Update. Symbol update query. There you go. That's not destroy. Oh, sorry, I forgot there's a where thing in here. Alright. How does missing where? Oh, you need to have a where. Can you just do mass update? I think you can. Alright, try again. Oh. Even though it doesn't work, it still runs. Alright, so if I hit devour here, yes, so it sent a request, then it refreshed the page. Now we got all three of them in there. So set something back to 0. Why? Alright, cool. Now the next thing is we need an input box to allow them to insert thing, right? So we need an input of what's text is fine. Gonna have a name. You don't really need a name. You're gonna have an ID of new burger, right? And we're not gonna have a button to enter, an enter button, because it's so stupid. You're gonna have to do an enter because it's so cool, and you don't need a button to tell you how to do that. Alright, so new burger, key down, and we need to check whether we enter an enter. And I don't remember. Key down, enter. Again, this is something that you don't even need to remember. Just Google, guys. You don't need to. Alright, so 13 is the answer. 13 is an answer. 13? Okay, 13 is an answer. Alright, so if e.keycode equal 13, when user hit enter, this command is from SQLite, but I don't want the SQLite command. What I want is the JavaScript command, so I'm gonna have this. So when the user hit enter, sequelize sorry, not sequelize, my bad. Handlebars command. Handlebars command will disappear after you when it's rendering to the front end to the page, but so it will disappear because it's a handlebar command. If you put a trouser command, it's gonna treat it as an actual thing in the file, and it's gonna still keep it when it go to the front end. So I'm not gonna put the trouser command in here. And in here, we're gonna do an Ajax, right? And it's gonna end up with something like that. But before we do it, we need to get the details of whatever is currently in this one. So again, we need to get the current target, and we need to get the current value, right? So current value, and we're gonna send it through our API. So we have a burger and we have a new, right? And because now we don't do it through an API anymore, sorry, we don't do it through params anymore. We're gonna do it through the body. So we have a data here, which gonna contains the name of the burger, and it's gonna be current value. I'm gonna disable this first, and we need another route to post a new burger. Right. So now because we do it through a body, our data now should be in request dot body. That's where our data is, and because I need the name, so I can have that name, right? Name, yes. Alright, again, before we do anything, I'm just gonna send the data back to make sure that I got everything correctly. Alright, so now if I refresh this, I should have this inbox. If I type something and I hit enter, it's sending a request and the data is back. Good. Now we have the data up and running. We can now start create a new burger. So similar thing, but instead of update, we do create, right? And this need a name, which we already have, and by default, it's not devour. Right, so that's it. If I refresh now, and I need to allow you to refresh so that you can see. For some reason, my localhost take a bit too long to actually render. You should expect this to be like in half a second or even less. So this is real. And hit enter, and there you go. There you go. And you hit devour it, it's going down. You hit devour it, you're going down. I was thinking of doing something undevour and it's going up, but I feel like it's a bit too disgusting. Alright, so anything that we're missing? Um, no, right? Alright, cool. So this is the main thing. Now let's do some fun thing first. So the first thing that I want to do is to see whether um we can first of all we need to do the styling. Styling is just looking bad. Alright, let me show you my skill of styling, okay? Alright, so container images. So images will need to be in the middle. Display flex. Flex direction, nope. Justify content to be center. I believe I has broken Firefox. Sorry. Chrome. There you go. For some reason, this is C and this is not C. And basically everything needs to be in the center. But this can be list container will be flex. So we can delete this too because we not need them anymore. And we have some margin on the side to be 20 pixel actually. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, so both of you are having that. Hmm, styling is a bit hard. Space around. This look okay-ish. And then this one. Nope, because it doesn't like it. I need another container for this. But for now, let's do our styling. Image container. Okay, then the list container. Then this one doesn't have anything. And I need another container for this one. You might find that I have a lot of different um, variable convention right now. It's because I'm messing around with my own convention because my word requires some new way to code. So if you find any inconsistency, please tell me because I might not even realize that. Oh, I need to remove that devour word. Alright, center. I need that input container. Okay, and this one will need to be a bit bigger. So width to be 200 pixel, more, and height to be 100 pixel. That's too big. That look okay. Some border radius. And outline would be none. There you go. Alright, so this should end up with this. We can remove the word name. And I want to remove the UL because the UL doesn't work with me. I want to put the div in there. For now, that should work. Add some margin. Alright, I'm gonna go with this. Yep, alright. For now, this is my design. Any criticism, I will not take anything, okay? This is my best design was so far. Way much better than this. Like, look at this. And look at my design. My design is way better. Alright, so the thing that I want to do first is that we need to make this go away. See how ugly they are? This is not good. This is looking bad. So, what we can do is we can create a public file out here. Sorry, a public folder. And we're gonna serve the static file. So I have a CSS here, I have a JS here, and I kinda hate how they are doing this right now, but this should be in public. Yes, thank you. So we can have the style in here. And in here we can have a style, sorry, a link to slash public slash style, sorry, CSS slash style. So we need to configure where this CSS coming from. Sorry, where does this, what does this mean? We need to configure that, but I will do that later. But for now, we're gonna go with it. Similar to the script, what you can do is you can do scripts.js right here, put it here, and then in this one you can do a similar, sorry, you can do a similar here of js slash script.js, right? So this will not work for sure. This will not work. You're gonna see a bunch of that and error. Right? The reason is because we didn't tell it what does this mean. It's trying to load twice. Huh? It's trying to load twice. Right? And because we didn't tell it what does this mean, so it doesn't know what to do. So what we need to do is we need to go back to our server, and we need to do static file serving. And if you have no idea what that is, it's basically in here. Express getting star static files, and this allows us to do root to any file in the public directory. Right, so app use, so use again, every request is okay. To this is a root thing, and then you say to a public folder. So we put that somewhere here. So now what it should do is you should allow everything in here to be accessible. And if we refresh it now, our style should be back. No, it's not. The script is back, but the style is not. Alright, so because the style with an S, yes. Style with an S, an S, an S, S here. Yeah. Alright. Cool, right? So it's working. But this is not how I imagine it to be. What I imagine it to be is because the end result is what? The end result is you having, this might be a bit I haven't done this before in Handlebar. I have done this in different language. So let's see whether I can actually do this one, right? So my goal is that if you're looking at the source right now, you're gonna see that the link is in here and the script is in here, right? So the script in here is correct. Accidentally is being correct, but we both know that it's here because in our um, in our home we put it at the end, right? So if I comment this and throw it on top, now this will not work for sure. The page will not work, but we don't really care about that. What we care about is the script is here, right? And I don't want this because the script should normally be at the end of the page, and it should not just be wherever you want to do. In other language, you guys have I have partial. In this language, I think you can do a block. Oh, sorry, you have partial here. Yeah, so I am not 100% sure how to do that. Can you do inherit? Hmm. I will look into how to do that and tell you guys. But the idea is something like that. But I haven't understand how to do that too. Okay, sorry guys, I'm supposed to show you how to do that though. Partial block. Partial block. The normal behavior when something that is not found, so the implementation to throw an error. If failover is decides that you might use a block syntax. Partial parameter. So I can use a partial pass template to the partial. We can execute. Bam, 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 bam. Alright, anyway, sorry about that. Let's just keep it this way. Hmm. We'll do a bit more research on that later on. Right. So what's the next thing that we can do? So this is good. We are doing it good. What we should do next is look at how we can deploy this onto Heroku. I have another plan for this, but we're gonna come back to this after we deploy this to Heroku first, okay? So how to Heroku. Let's follow the guide one by one so that you know what to expect. Alright, so you guys can find that in here. Might as well. Week 12, okay? Supplemental. And window guide, Mac guide. This is not the guide. Wrong one. I think week 13. Week 13. Supplemental. Here you go. Alright. So this is how. So first of all, we need to deploy out to create our Heroku server first. Sorry, not Heroku server. Heroku BDF. What the hell am I talking about? Heroku MySQL. Alright. So as usual, we need to deploy our Heroku app. Actually, let's follow the plan how it actually do deploy Heroku. Any idea what week it is? I think it's 11, right? Yes, there you go. Alright. Why does this thing is in Markdown? This thing is in BDF. Guys. Right, so deploy to Heroku. I have no idea whether I have logged into Heroku on this one yet. Should have. Yes. Alright. So, so git login. I don't need to do that. Okay. So I need to do a Heroku's create, which gonna create my app. Right. So it's creating app. Make sure that there's a start command. So we need to go into package. I would recommend you to always have a start command in here because it is nice to have a start command. Instead of you have to remember what command to run, you just run npm start. Right, then the port you need to allow the SQL, sorry, not the SQL, the Heroku to export to give you the port because the port in Heroku is so huge. Like you can guess it's to like 60K or something. It's not always the static one. So you have that. Right. So that's the port. You don't need that. Then you basically commit everything. This is the basic. And after you, so this is commit to your GitHub. Then you need to commit this to, so it's created. You now need to commit to Heroku. So git push Heroku master. Right, so it's pushing and now it's building. And that should allow us to see it, right? But no, it's not. Because as you remember before, we use SQLize. And SQLize require the MySQL connection, which our Heroku we haven't got that. So this will fail, but let's see how that fell. Alright, so we go into this and we run this and it will fail. It will fail. And let's show you what that fail means. Yeah, application error. And if you go into your Heroku, and that's the Heroku. And if you go to, I think resources, nope, metric activity. This is where you deploy. Ba, 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 ba. I think you need to do this. So this will show you the log that is failed, and basically, so this is when we release, right? So release v3, so we deploy and then it release, and then this, see this? So this is what it run. So it run our application, and the moment it run, it say unhandled group rejection, SQLize connection refused error. So it couldn't connect to our database, right? So right now, what it's actually doing is start from. So this is the state come from Heroku, and say that it go from starting to crash, right? And it does this a couple times. So the latest one is that it's go from starting to crash, and it stop right here, right? So we need to start our server again, and now we know what's happened because we don't have a MySQL thing. So let's go to here and have a look at the MySQL, how to include MySQL into our server. So JarDB is what we're using. So JarDB is one out of many different add-ons that allow you to do stuff on Heroku. So Heroku had a bunch of add-ons, so if you guys want to look into that, that's fine. It's a lot of them. But for now, we just need JAWS. Actually, I'm gonna show you a bunch of add-on that is actually there. So resource and add-on. So this is every single add-on that they are. I have no idea how many they are. There's so many. So JarDB is one of them. I just saw. So JarDB Maria, this is the MariaDB. This is not MySQL. This is more or less what we need. Yeah, but you can see there's a bunch of them, not just one or two. Just wondering, is this all of it? Then it's just, then it's not that much, but you know, there's a bunch of it. Sorry. Alright, so now let's follow the guy again. So we create Heroku and everything. We're gonna create a JAWS MySQL in add-on. That's what we need. Add it in. We're gonna use a free version because I don't want to pay for it. And then there is a string. So so this is up and running correctly. Can I configure something? It doesn't even tell me the string. Yes, it doesn't even tell me the string. Nice guys. Alright, so this is what they're asking us to do. So process.env.jars.db. So that is where the string, the jar string, is getting to be put in. And we create a connection in here, right? In SQLize. So we're gonna use the environment variable in the connection. So if it's on production, and I know this is a production because whenever I think you can change it in. Let me see whether they have it setting. There's a note. There's a JAWS DB here. Okay, there's no. But when you deploy to Heroku, Heroku is gonna inject the node.env, the environment, to be production. So it's gonna start using this instead of that, and it's coming from, where does this? It's coming from this. So it's gonna inject this into our application, and it's gonna change this into production. So we're gonna add this into our config. So we don't have this, we have none of this, we only have a dialect, I believe. Dialect is included. Alright, so we need this to be JAWS DB UL. Right, and when we do this, this will use the string, use the process.env.jawsdb, and config. There's no config. I see the config. Alright, so I'm gonna have anything. I don't think you even need this. That. And I'm gonna call it the same. Alright, so what else do I need to do? Alright, so it's gonna push to master. But before we need that, we need to have we need to create our database first. Naturally, no, we don't need to create our database. Our database should have access because this is create a database first. We just need to add table. Alright, so that should be it. Because when we connect to our JAWS DB, our SQLize is gonna run and it's gonna do the sync, and then all the table will be updated. Cool. There's a bunch of about how to insert table and stuff like that, but we're not gonna have that. Alright. So that's that. This is update production connection. And let's put this to, actually no. I wanna leave you guys. What the hell? I'm gonna leave this on so that you guys can see what's actually happening when you push. See how it stopped at crash? We are going to push again. So git push Heroku master. Alright, so the moment you push, look at here. This should change. I don't know why this doesn't change. But this doesn't change at all. Oh wait, what the hell? Oh, there you go. I think I hit something. Yeah, so the table has been created. Example. See how what the port it is? It's on 557AA. It's something else, right? And if I run my application now, it should be up and running. Please. There you go. So now I can say hello world. And you click on it, and then it's done. Hi from the top of the world. Cool. So now we deploy. So at this point, we have finally complete everything that is required on the assignment, right? But this is not where I want you to stop. Actually, if you want to stop here, feel free to stop. But we're gonna explore this a bit further. So there are two things that I want to show you. First thing is I want to cover a bit more on the associate. And second one is I want to show you guys what is the proper way to update a database, right? So what do I mean by properly doing an update on database? Because right now, right? So what I want to do is I want to create where's my database? What my plans right now is I'm gonna create a vote, right? And what the vote does is that for each burger there will be a vote system, and you can do a bunch of voting in it. Now I think about it, it might be a bit too complicated, but sure, what the hell. And what you can do is you can submit a vote on a burger, and it will display on the screen when you're trying to devour a burger, right? Now, the way I want it to work is that I'm gonna get a man's paint out here. Uh, this is a burger, right? And this is vote. I have no idea why vote is bigger than a burger. It should not. Actually, no, vote is a bad word. Rating. Rating. Right. And the connection between it is one burger can have multiple rating, and one rating have one burger, belong to one burger. Okay. So if we have this rating, is a very simple one. Rating have a star from 1 to 5, right? That's simple. Burger, on the other hand, now we have, sorry, rating also have a burger ID. Right? Alright, so let's build this. So let's go back to the migrate. Sorry, not migrate, the create. So we're gonna create a name of rating, and we're gonna have a start as a integer, and this will create us this, right? Green that. And now if I run this, and I will run this, my database now is having, I have to refresh, a rating here, right? So this is good. Now I want to do associate. And the way we do associate before is that you say one rating belong to one burger, right? So you can do, shit, I need this to be capital for consistency. Okay, so models dot rating uh belong to a models dot burger, right? Simple as that. Similar on the burgers dot has many. I believe it has many, right? Might need to have a look at that again. Association. That's a paranoid. What's a paranoid? A paranoid table is one that when told to delete a record, it will not truly delete it. Wow. A paranoid table. A paranoid table. Wow. Just wow. Alright. So A has one, B, a burger has many. So models dot burger has many models dot rating. Alright. So if I go back to this and I see that rating is not defined, where's rating not defined? Model dot rating. Yeah, rating. Alright. We can easily see that it's gonna run create table if not exists, create table if not exists, but we know that if I run, it's a create table if not exists rating, right? But if I go into rating table, if I refresh this and go to rating table, the rating table doesn't update, right? Because the table, the command it run is create table if not exist. So because the table already exists, it doesn't show anymore. One way that you can get over this is to use what we call a force, right? We in the class we use force. So in the index, when you use sync, you do a force right here. And I'm gonna do that and see what happened, right? So if I use force now, what it's doing is it dropped the table beforehand, right? And you're gonna say, yeah, it's fine, whatever, what, it's fine, right? The problem with dropping the table is that all the data you have is now gone. So you don't have any data anymore, which is not good, even though in this one, it has a bug ID right here, right? And it's not good because the the data you have been saving is gone. So in industrial, you would try to never delete data, never drop table, delete data, delete record. I guess I have a sympathy with the paranoid table-ish, but not really. But you should try your best not to delete table because, to be honest, there is way to update a table without dropping it and then recreating it with a new column. There is function, sorry, there is query to do that, to add column, to delete columns, to update column if we need to, right? So you don't need to actually drop the whole table to do that. So how can we do it properly? So SQLize creates something that we call a migration. And this is what it is. This is the table, migration. And the migration table have two things. It has an up function and a down function and the wrong indent line and the wrong spacing. But it has a up and a down. Right? And if you read it correctly, like closely, you're gonna see that they are basically create a table and drop the table. So up is when you run the migration, and when you run the migration is create a table. Down is when you reverse the migration, and when you reverse it is drop the table. And similar with the rating thing, it's similar, right? So now you're asking what does it mean? So migration is let's say the similar way to understand it is to understand how Git works. So you use Git to control your version, right? So you have version 1, you have a document A, you have version 2, your document A now becomes your document B. So migration is SQLized way of controlling your database. That's why you have an up and a down version. So an up version is what happens when you run the SQLized function. Sorry, when you run the migration. A down version is what happens if you reverse it. So let me show you an example. I will kill the server now because if I keep this, then it will keep running the the sync one to prevent me showing you exactly what happened. So now we have two tables, right? And if in here I drop the table, you drop, yes. Alright. So now we taught you that the only way to update it is using sync, right? And sync is a simple, straightforward way to do it. But the proper way is to use migration. And if you look back onto SQLize COI, there is something called migrate, database migrate. So run all the pending migration. So I'm going to run this and you're going to see what happened. So npx. So it load from this and use development, and it's run this file, and it's run this file, sorry, to be migrate, and it's run this file to be migrate. Now if we go and look into our database, that's our table, and we have another SQLized meta table which contain what migration head is run. So what this actually doing is this is basically similar to an SQL file, and by doing this it will update your table accordingly. So saying that, can I undo one? Yes. So saying you do both of the migration, you say, oh, no, but I don't want state rating like this. I want to change it. In the real case scenario, what you need to do is you need to go to MySQL, then you need to drop it, right? But in this one, what you can do is you can do SQLize and then undo. And what actually doing is it okay, database migrate undo. It will revert one migration. So it revert the latest migration. And by doing that, if you go back here and you look at this, your table has been dropped. So that's how it works. So it use migration to control the flow of your database. And through that, it allow you to not drop in the table because you don't need to. And through not dropping in the table, you don't lose any data. So for now, let's migrate everything like we did before, right? And now everything is in our database, right? Now it's time to say that. Now it's time to start a fake shock that, oh, I haven't got the burger ID in here. I need that table. So what you can do is you can undo and then you can modify this query, this up query, to add the column in. But we're not going to do that. We're going to see how we actually update the table, right, using this. So what we can do is there's another command for SQLize called, I think, generate. Yeah, migration generate. So we can do npx SQLize generate, migration generate. It requires a name. So we can say that add columns, add foreign key to rating. And it's going to create us a file. Not a very good one. Okay, React. I will use the this type thing because it doesn't convert itself. Alright, so it's gonna create this migration. And in here, you're gonna see that there's two of them. So there's an up and a down. Again, remember that this is the way to control versioning. So you need to say what happened if I apply this migration, what will happen? And also what will happen if I want to revert this migration. So there's both way in this. And the command that you use, normally I just go to, so there is a query interface. And this is the API reference, but there's a bunch of them. So what I do is I add a new column into it. So query interface, add column. And the next thing is I need to add a table name. So the table name I need to add is rating with no S or with S. With S. But do I need to add S? I would guess I need to add S. Okay. Rating. The column name is burger ID. And that's attribute, right? So attribute is where you reference to. So reference to the table burgers, and the column, the field is ID, right? So remember that after I add, I need to remove column. I guess it's remove column. That's a big guess. Yes, there you go. Remove column. So remove column from the table rating out the column burger ID. Right. Alright, so this is the new migration. Let's run it and see how that works. Do I need a type? I might need a type. References. Yeah, I think I need a type. Do I need to? I might not need to. Okay, let's run this migration and see whether it like it. So sequelize migrate. Cannot read properties to string of undefined. Unless you need to tell me what you're trying to read. Alright, you might need a type. Option type. Type. Sequelize COI for this is what I looked before. Pew. Alright. Yes, okay, so I need a type. Sequelize the integer because I was using integer. Invalid and expect token. Okay, so use model and key. Where does that say in this one? It's saying some random thing, man. Alright, so model and key. That's what we use. Alright, so model and key. Invalid or unexpected token. Type references. Model key on update and on delete. So I add this column. Oh, I see what I did wrong. It's good to have this. I'm just gonna remove this. What? Didn't return promise. Oh yeah, sorry. You need to return a promise. So you need to return. This is how you do it. You need to return this. And also this needs to return. Duplicate burger ID. Okay, so I think previously accidentally it got through. So now what I would do is, has it migrate? No, it hasn't migrated. So I'm gonna remove this one and try again. Delete selected, apply. Right. So do migrate and it should work. Cool. Now if we look at the table again, the table should have that column. And if we decide that we don't want to do that, we can undo and the column will be dropped. Right, but that will be how you probably doing it. You probably update the table and then so saying that we have some ID in here, some data in here, the table doesn't get dropped at all. It never got dropped. So the data in it will save. Alright, so because we already do migration, we don't need to use the sync anymore. We just need to do app listen. That's all. This should work. Exactly just that. And let's start. And if I refresh the page, should work as usual. There you go. See, everything is still the same. Right. So, yeah, I always use the. I want to use the start to showcase the migration and also the associate, so that both the point I want to show. So no more. I don't really want to do any rating because that require a bit of a change on UI and stuff like that. I don't want to do that. So what I just did last 10 or 15 minutes is showing you guys how to probably use migration. And if you use migration and you have some foreign key, so instead of you depending on this associate and SQLize do it for you, you have to, oh, so you still need to depending on SQLize, but you have to create the key for yourself, right? And yeah, so remember if you do migration, this needs to return a promise. So it always needs to return a promise. I guess this word is not correct because my spell checker is checking it, but this is how you create a foreign key. So similar to how you use define, I believe it's similar, and you just need to uh, add a new column or remove a new column or even update a new column through a migration. And because you do a migration like that and then you do a migration db migrate, you will not to need to use the db sync anymore, right? So you don't need that. Oh yes. And on the talk of that, I just yeah, I know that I showed you guys how to protect your password last time, but then I totally forget and just commit this whole file. So now let's probably do password protection. So last time I do a config.local.json and I add this file to git ignore. Alright, then this one will be copied over and this will have nothing. I mean, it can have something. I don't mind to have something. But I only have this on that so that it can run. Right, so the config.json is the one that will have the real data. And I will need to update my this to .local.json. And it should up and running again. So that's the proper way. I just need to update that. Alright. So this and git ignore to protect password. And this too. Actually, no, not this. This one. Change location connection. Oh, and this is about migration. Right. The last thing that I want to do is yes. Remember the get name that we had before, and we said I said that I have no idea how to do it, and I have to go through data values. So let's Google it and see how we can do it, and see how we can implement that for our own. Okay. So the question is how to display uh sequelize object through handlebar. Right. So this is how we want to do it. So there's a bunch of them. So let's have a look at some. Mhm. Alright, how does it? What does it render? View data? What's view data? This update a bunch of things. Okay. Hmm. Interesting. This is different from that. They're both saying similar thing, but okay. So this is one way. Is there another way? Can I stringify it? No, but we console log the whole object and we have a bunch of things in it. Okay, so this is not. How can he just stringify through this? Uh, yep, fine. Oh, render. Apparently, you can straightforward use it. So if he used find all, I also use find all, but how does it work? I'm gonna ignore this for a while. For each burger, we have name. That's why I said db task start block. Um, each task. Huh. Okay, let's see what do we have. Oh wait, no. Okay, we have nothing in there. Access has been denied to resolve the name because it's not an own property of his parent. Access has been denied. It's an own property of his parent. You can answer on time. So that is one way to get it. Why can't you get the data directly? Can you do this? Yeah, so this is what I get. If I get you right, you want the mapping include all values. What's values? Alright, so in the API route, so console.log burgers.values. Values. Right, so if I run this, oh, values. It's an object iterator. Oh no, values. This value is an object function. Uh, raw. Hmm. Okay. So I can use raw. Right. So raw basically return me an object without any extra detail from SQLized. Okay, I can use that. Alright. So if I use raw, sorry. If I use raw, then in here, um, I don't need to use with data value anymore because now this is out to be used, and this should work as normal. There we go. Alright, so the thing to learn here is the keyword draw, raw equals true. I think we can learn about that a bit more. Let's see what that means. So find all function. Yes, there's a bunch of them, but because we know what we already look for, where's the word raw? There you go. Raw. Return the raw result. Right? So we can. So there's a SQLized.query. What SQLized.query does? Query type. There's a bunch of them, but there's no SQLized.query. What SQLized.query is? Oh, is that a query function? Is that a query function? There you go, query function. Alright, raw. If through SQLized we try to not to format, I'll build an instant. Okay, so it get whatever it's from. Get like however it's look like in database, just get that. Right. So that's what we learned about the raw. So when you use raw, it's gonna return you this object. Sorry, this object, which is whatever in the database, and you can use that. Cool. The other way is to build the function to get it, but I guess this is a bit too much of a problem. Okay. Let's use include. What do you mean using include? Can do this other way. One more thing to try. I don't know whether this works. And even if this works, I would not be able to explain why that works. Yes, okay, it doesn't work. Alright, cool. Alright, so with the raw thing, I am able to display data right here. Alright, so we got that. Cool. Just a very long and awkward silence, but thank you for hanging around with that. Right. Use raw to remove the data values thing. Alright, cool. So now let's do the final push to Heroku and make sure that it's up and running correctly. Git push Heroku master. And while I'm waiting for that, I'm just gonna push to my normal Heroku, normal GitHub. Heroku, git push. See, so there's a build star. It's showing that. And I think after this is done, then it's gonna change the progress right here. There you go. Change the progress. No, what's happening? Oh yeah, because it was using this file. Bum 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 bum. How can we solve this? Alright, the one way to solve this is because we huh this one still work, but it needs to read this one because we're telling it to read that one. Huh. Okay, so one way we can do is we're gonna say if env if it's equal to development, then our config would be this, and if it's not development, then our config would be this. That should make it work both in our way and on the Heroku one. The proper way for this should be using the I turn it off. The proper way to do it, it should be using the var, the environment var in here. You should put your data in here and then use the configuration, the process.env to read the key and the value from here. So that should be a proper way. The lazy my way is doing this. Alright, so it should be up and running. I'm just gonna push again. You know, sometimes I'm amazed about how I can just sit here and talk to you guys for 2 hours and you guys still here and listen to what I'm saying. It's just amazing, you know. Alright, so our app is up and running. See how, remember previously our app was in port, I think 55788 or something, and now it's in different port, so in 24447. So again, this is to say that the port on Heroku is not consistent. It will change, and that's the reason why we have to use the, what's the file? This one, the process.env port, because they're different. Alright, so let's run again on on this and make sure that it's still up and running. Where is the link? The link, where is the link? The link, where is the link? The link, the link, the link, the link. Actually, I kind of forget. Where's the link? Ah, there you go. Alright. There you go. Alright, up and running. There you go. Up and running. Alright. So, I know I said this a lot thing, but I'm gonna show you one more cool thing. Okay, so this is what we call continuous development deployment and continuous integration. So if you go to your Heroku and you go to your deploy, you're gonna see a deployment method right here that allow you to connect to GitHub. So if you connect to GitHub, it's gonna ask you to do a repo name. So in this case, what's my repo name? Um, I forget what's my repo name. Bum, 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 bum. Monash Bootcamp Week 13. So if I search for this, right, and if I connect them, what's gonna actually happening is I can do the deploy, right? So automatically deploy. So if I click this, what's gonna happen is every push to master will deploy a new app. So let me show you. Alright, so what's the command to do this? Okay, so I'm gonna run this. Actually, I'm gonna keep this here. And because I have 7 commit that I haven't run, so I'm gonna push to master to GitHub master and see what happened here. So git push, and it's pushing to master. Yes, because I use a different name. Can I change my name and password without you guys noticing that? Um, how do I even change my name and password? COI. Okay, so what's right now? Oh wait, wrong one. Bum. Okay, why do I do that? How do Okay, I need to do this somewhere else. Okay, does it work now? Hopefully. No. Uh, invalid username and password. Holy hell. Hmm. Is that because I... Sorry guys, this is totally not acceptable. What the hell is that? Alright. doesn't like it. But uh, this is annoying. How do I change that? Wait. Wrong one, wrong one. Alright. Sadly enough, I cannot make it to work in time. You guys will have to believe me on that. If it works, it's gonna be cool. But I just recently changed my password, but I have no idea how to set up my password again. I think it's something to do with me um changing the password after cloning it down. I don't have a lot of experience on this, so I have to figure out what I did wrong. But if you guys can, please try out yourself and just again like do exactly what I said. Do automatically deploy, connect to your branch, and now every time that you push to your master, Heroku will pick it up, pick the commit up, and then rerun the new version for Heroku. So you guys don't need to keep like deploying, sorry, pushing to GitHub Master and then Heroku Master. Just push to GitHub Master, and then Heroku will pick it up. Yes. And again, I'm sorry for a lot of things that happened today. I didn't prepare this well enough. So if I did something very badly wrong, please forgive me. And but that will be it for today. What we have learned today so far is a lot, and just take time to get used to it. And if there is anything that you guys don't understand or doesn't make any sense to you, please come and ask me, and I will help it out. Okay? All right. So before we end, this is the perfect writing whatsoever, right? All right. So before we end, is there any question that you guys want to ask? And if there is any, then I will try to explain that.
No for me.
Okay, cool. Um, you good, Andrew?
None for me either. No.
All right, cool. If that the case, then thank you guys a lot for joining, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
Alright,
Thank you.
see you, Tree.
All right, see ya.